that there's 50,000 Americans as of September the 1st dead across the nation. They're only reporting that there's 10,000 dead. There is already 50,000 Americans dead on U.S. soil from Bush's, George Herbert Walker Bush's, the Illuminati's biological chemical attack upon America. And I think it's time that we take George Herbert Walker Bush and put him in handcuffs and bring him to justice.
I just wanted to bring people up to date, too, Stu, on the, to move back to the financial crisis that we still face, even though Mr. Bernanke is out there claiming that everything is fine, the recession is over. This is all cover-up talk. On September 30th, they are supposed to, that is the Federal Reserve, release information concerning their derivative problem. And, of course, they can't afford to release the truth about that because they're broke. Now, the Iranian thing is also escalating as the Prime Minister of Israel is threatening to attack Iran. He was just recently in Russia, in which he tried to bribe Vladimir Putin with gold and euro currency to okay to go along with an Israeli attack against Iran, which, of course, the U.S. government would sponsor. By the way, the money that he was using to bribe Putin with came from none other than the Bernard Madoff Ponzi scheme. How do you like that? Netanyahu is well linked to that. A lot of U.S. media people like Morton Zuckerman, Larry King, had investments in the Bernard Madoff Ponzi scheme, and, of course, they went to Israel and got their money back because a lot of the money wound up laundered back to Israel. That being the case, Putin refused the bribe and actually physically removed Netanyahu from his office. At the same time, we're getting reports that Danny Pang, the Israeli-Chinese Taiwanese bagman, who is basically the financier of a lot of these Mossad al-Qaeda cells, which are still present on U.S. soil, I call them the Bush-Clinton True Colors gang, that they're plotting a false flag. Since they're having trouble getting the flu thing done because people won't take their stupid vaccine.
Would you repeat that Chinese name, please, Tom?
Danny Pang. You're familiar with him, aren't you?
I'm very familiar. Isn't that the same one that supposedly Daddy Bush paid to assassinate you and me recently?
That is correct, Stu. He was neutralized by French intelligence agents, but he is still present on American soil. Now, I've
been tracking him, Tom, and I've been tracking him with Talk Off the Air, but he was in that Chinese delegation that was over here trying to get their money back here a while back.
And he was recently in New York City organizing these cells for some type of black op. That's one of the reasons you saw the sweep through New York City. It had nothing to do with al-Qaeda. It had to do with the Mossad, and it had to do with Danny Pang. Now, today, James McDonald, the chief executive officer of the investment company Rockefeller and Company, who was also the chief auditor for the New York Federal Reserve Bank, the chief auditor for the New York Stock Exchange, was found dead. We can now report that he died of rat poison, and that he was assassinated by Danny Pang.
It's very interesting, because you're quite aware that I picked up on this about Daddy Bush and Mr. Pang and their little agreement to get rid of you and me here a few weeks ago.
Well, they're now putting up my name and address on the Internet, so accordingly, my weapons are loaded and they're ready to roll.
Well, I'm in the same boat, and, I might just see if I got friends around that might want to pick up Mr. Pang.
Well, it's a serious situation when you have the Mossad out of control, threatening to use a lot of their technology, which we gave to them, to basically attack the rest of the world in some kind of suicidal binge. Apparently, Netanyahu, who was a sociopath and a Nazi, threatened to turn Moscow into a mushroom cloud, in which point Putin told him he would turn Israel into an ashtray, and then physically threw him against the wall outside his office, and I guess if he wanted to, he could have really, he could have dismembered him if he wanted to, because he's an expert in karate. But, there's a real problem going on right now here. Again, we have a Patriot Act, which Obama wants to reinstate. Remember, folks, they need emergency control over this money, and they've had emergency control over your tax money since September 11th, 2001, when Bush fraud, the illegal White House occupant, who was never elected by the American people, decided after 9/11 that he would take control of this money along with the Federal Reserve. So you see the results of the 9/11 black op. It gave these people control of your money, and they turned around and looted it, and then lost it in trading platforms. Now, when someone does something like that, you would expect that this is the type of activity which should lead to treason charges, guillotines, and proper justice. But in America, we have a media filth that is on the take. A lot of the money derived, I'm sure they're getting from derivatives and the Bernard Madoff Ponzi scheme that sits on the air on a nightly basis and lies and spins and manipulates. And if there is something when the stories come out, which they have to deal with, they just don't report it, do they, Stu?
No, they don't report it. And Tom, it's amazing, but our combination of both websites and what we put in the reports and your reports and writing the reports are very effective. And you know as well as I do that within 24 hours to 48 hours after we put something up, they're in there trying to spin it down in the news immediately and kill the story from ever happening. And that makes them pretty nervous. That I find it amazing that they're tracking our site that tight, that they're wanting to demonize, slander, and spin doctor the stories.
Sometimes you got to be careful about giving out the information. Simply because these people aren't that smart, to be honest with you.
No, they're quite dumb, really. The only difference is it's like organized crime. That's what these people are. They're a bunch of Satanists and organized crime. And I've had a lot of discussions about it with a lot of people. And, when you have practicing Satanists, Luciferians, they go around murdering children on satanic holidays and drinking their blood. They're very sick human beings, and they need to be brought to justice for these murders.
Now, what's interesting about this raid in New York, which, of course, was this alleged sweep of terrorist activity, a lot of these were safe houses they went after, Stu. Well, safe houses are basically people who are working in intelligence, correct?
True.
Yeah. So who are these people really? Who are they really picking up yesterday? You got to ask yourself a question at this point. This senator from New York, this guy Schumer, who wanted to get in the middle of the Wanta protocol implementation. He's very dangerous. He takes orders directly from the Mossad. He talks to Daddy Bush and the Clintons on a daily basis. And he is basically probably in charge of this operation to cover up what was going on in New York City, which was another attempt by this filth to attack the American people. I can only tell you that it's amazing to me that the media hasn't reported on any arrests or anything of that nature concerning this operation, have they, Steve?
No, I just saw one little blurb someplace about, I think it was on the internet. Someone sent me about, some raids going on and in New York, and that was the extent of it. There was something that blurped on the internet. It may have been a local newspaper or something, but I wasn't even aware of this until you brought it up tonight, Tom.
Well, I think it should be mentioned that that we see this activity. The media continues to try to keep Osama bin Laden alive because Osama bin Laden is a U.S. CIA asset. Tim Osman. He worked for the Central Intelligence Agency for years. He was still on the payroll the day of 9/11. He went to a Dubai hospital in July of 2001 and got dialysis treatment. He's been dead for at least 8 years now. His custodial accounts are tied to the CIA. A lot of laundered drug money and arms trafficking went through his accounts. and were then paid to the U.S. government officials under the table.